Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be doing a quick ADC tier list for patch 9.23. So I'm on a timeline here. We've only got about 30 minutes for this video, so we have to be done in about 30 minutes. No memeing this time. I'm supposed to go meet up with my wife and a friend to go hang out at this playground with my daughter. So let's go ahead and get in here. Be sure to check out the rest of the content that I've released. I'm releasing a ton of stuff over the next couple of days. Everything for 9.23. We have a 2-part patch notes video, 2-part support tier list video that will have already released by the time this comes out. And so check that out if you want to know more about how specific map changes and items and like how the meta overview is going to work. So I'll just go through something really quickly here. But be sure to check out the rest of that content for more in-depth coverage. And then come by, check out the stream sometime if you'd like as well. It starts around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, goes till about 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time most nights. It's a very friendly, welcoming community. We'd love to have you. It's very chill. If you have any cool builds you want to discuss, or you have some questions for the stream, or you just want to hang out and watch some relatively peaceful League of Legends, and come by, check it out. You want some old man stories? We've got those too. Let's come by, check it out. It's a good time. And yeah, let's go ahead and get in here. So I think that overall, I think that the ADC meta might shift quite a bit because of the changes to Xayah Shard. I don't know if I still have that up here. Let me pull it up here real quick. Now, they showed this on the patch notes as well. It looks like I closed the patch notes tab there. That might actually be better to look at here. So let's do League patch 9.23. Let's pull that up real quick. Let's flip down because I think this is going to be a really meta-defining shift. And we'll see, you know, how it pans out. But I think this looks like it's going to be really, really good. So Xayah Shard is the on-hit weapon that builds into now Rapid Fire Cannon, Static Shiv, all these other items. So they changed it from 50 damage to 80 damage, which is massive. I mean, that's effectively like a free crit in the laning phase. If you think that, you know, by the time you could build this, which is just 700 gold, by the way, in the early game, you're going to have 80 AD or less most of the time. And so whenever this is up, you're doing an extra 80 damage in addition to your 80 normal damage you would deal. So that is a lot of extra burst damage. I mean, that's an increase of 60% over what it once was. So yes, it does cost a little bit more gold, but you know, it's definitely going to be worth it. And the other changes that they made are all of these items that it builds out of, they all do 120 damage, and they can all stack now. The damage can stack. So before, if you rush something like Rapid Fire Cannon as your first item, you would probably only deal, by the time you completed it, I don't know, somewhere around maybe 80 or maybe 90 damage, depending on when you get it. Now it does 120 flat, like, as soon as you get it. So rushing one of these items might actually be pretty decent on someone like Caitlyn or Jhin. So that's really, really nice. Or you could certainly go for something like a BF Sword and then a Xayah Shard, or BF Sword into... I guess Zeal is a different thing, although they're buffing Zeal as well. So with Zeal, Critical Cloak or Crit Cloak now deals 25% crit strike to sit at 20%. So you're getting an extra 25% value off of that than it used to be. And Zeal is also going to be a lot stronger. So it's 1,400 gold, which definitely is going to be more, but you're getting 10% more crit for the price of just 3% attack speed. So that's a really, really good bargain. So Zeal is very good, and Xayah Shard is very good. So both of those are really awesome components to get in the early game. And then the completed items, the Rapid Fire and the Static Shiv, are awesome. So Shiv hits 7 targets now all the time whenever you trigger it for 120 damage on everybody. So that's going to wave clear like a monster early on. It used to do, you know, if you rush this first item, it used to be like, you know, maybe 80 damage. Now it's 120, and it used to only hit 5 targets. Now it hits 7. So it can hit, you know, just about everything in the minion wave and the enemies if they're standing close to the wave as well. So it's really huge. And then if you combine these items kind of in the mid-game, you get the range of the Rapid Fire Cannon, you get the 120 damage, and then you also get the Static Shiv 120 damage. That's 240 damage burst, and it's still going to spread the Shiv lightning everywhere. Now, all the other lightning damage does not do the extra 120, but your initial, excuse me, your initial shot does. And they also upgraded Storm Razor. So now it has a 25% crit chance, which is really strong. So it did lose... you know, 15% attack speed and 5 AD, but overall the crit chance is definitely going to be worth it, I think. And it also does that flat 120 damage. So you could, you know, rush this in theory. It wouldn't be a bad item to rush. It's got all like really good stats in general. I think it was like 112% efficient. Just basically the same efficiency as Infinity Edge, but instead of, you know, having that crit modifier, then you get the 120 burst damage up front that stacks with all the other Energizer damage as well. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good scaling. You know, it's not going to be as much scaling as Infinity Edge on like 3 or 4 items, but on 2 items, I would venture to guess it's probably going to be better than Infinity Edge. Now, it does not have as much raw AD, but it does have the attack speed and it does have the on-hit damage as Infinity Edge. Excuse me one second. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold there. I wanted to save you guys from kind of that grossness. But anyways, I think this is going to be a lot stronger, potentially. So what does that mean? You know, I think that you could get a rapid fire cannon or a static shiv rush. Static shiv is going to allow you to push like a maniac. It's going to have really good poke damage early. So, you know, Sivir, I think, might like to rush that. Even someone, I think like a Xayah or something. Just anything that can push really well is going to really like getting that early on. It's possible Jhin might like that. Although I think Jin's going to want rapid fire so he can chain that together with his crit passive. So we'll see. Maybe Senna would like that, although once again, she's probably going to want rapid fire. So a lot of champs might like rapid fire too, though. So maybe like with Sivir, you might get static shiv early. In other lanes, you know, obviously champions like Yasuo and Tryndamere are going to like the static shiv. But I'm just focusing on ADC. But I do think that going something like a rapid fire early and then into Infinity Edge could be really strong on things like Caitlyn and Jhin. So that's certainly going to help them out a lot. Even if they still go Infinity Edge first, that rapid fire second item is going to be way stronger. But I think, honestly, the Kerchai Shard plus that Zeal buff is going to be, like, big time. But we might also see kind of hybrid builds like we've had in the past where you'd get BF Sword first, then rapid fire cannon, then finish Infinity Edge, just so you have that hard-hitting AD early to scale with your abilities. But then you have that completed rapid fire, which is cheaper. It's 2,600 gold. And that can give you a lot of power. So we might go back to seeing some of that, and we might see the Energizer build things too. I mean, we might see the Static Shiv plus Rapid Fire plus Infinity Edge, or Static Shiv Rapid, that's the classic, or the Static Shiv Rapid Fire Storm Razor. Could all work out pretty well. I mean, that gives you a total of 360 on-hit damage if you have the Rapid Fire plus Static Shiv. Now, if you have Gensu's, you could, in theory, double proc that, but I think that'd be too cute to try to set up, so you're probably not going to see that too much. But anyways, I think that could be really good. So, yeah, that's going to affect the meta a lot, and then we have the return of kind of the poke-push lanes, I think. So, lower power in the jungle early on. They're going to have less experience, less gold, I believe. Also, there's going to be tanks to counter those high variance early game burst champions. You know, the things like the Xin Zhao, the stuff like the Lucian are going to be a little bit riskier now. So I suspect there's going to be less power in the jungle early. There's going to be less sustain in the lane as well because of the relic shield changes. And then also, 2 things about the change. It doesn't give the healing on hit, and it also doesn't have the passive health regen. So a lot of those melee supports are going to be a lot weaker in the laning phase. So like Nautilus, Leona, Conquer also got, or not Conquer, Conquer did get nerfed, but so did Aftershock. And I think that enchanters are also going to be really strong, which is going to give you extra range or extra sort of range champion to poke with in the lane. They all have poke spells, usually have healing and shielding. So I think we could see a return to the kind of push poke lanes of yore. You know, back in Season 7, that was the domination with the Ardent Sensor meta. I think we might be in like an Ardent Sensor 2.0 meta here, where you're seeing stuff like Sona, Janna, Senna, those type of champs. Soraka be a lot stronger right now. So that's going to further sort of enable this push poke. And then you want high priority in your lane so you can rotate and get dragons. Dragons are weaker individually later on, or like the first couple of dragons, but as you get them and as they stack up, then you get huge advantages. You want to be the first person to get to 4 dragons, and the best way to do that is to just have people poked, you know, to like 50% health, pushed into the lane, and then you go make a play on it with your jungler. So I think that's going to be really good. Also, the fact that there are less hard engaged champs, or they're at least going to be weaker in the bot lane, is going to be a buff to low mobility, high scaling champs like Jinx and Twitch. So things that are going to be scared of that hard engage but are really good at scaling into killing tanks later are really going to like all these changes. And also more tanks in solo lanes in the jungler is going to be really good for a lot of ADCs, because that means the enemy is going to have a lot less burst type of threats. They're not going to have assassins. So that's going to give your support more time to heal and peel for you. And then also, if you have allies that are tanks like that, they can provide additional assistance through that beefy front line and through that peeling. So if you like AD carry, this is going to be a patch, I think, that's going to be phenomenal for AD carry. I think I would venture to say AD carry is going to be the best place that it's been at before the nerfs back in Season 8, when they just completely gutted crit and put mages in the mid lane. I think AD carries are going to return back to that power level, right? Just, I don't know if it's going to be quite up to where Ardent Sensor was, but it might be kind of the post-Ardent Sensor, but pre-ADC Apocalypse of the summer of 2018. So I think it's going to be a really good time to be alive, you know, if you like AD carry. Okay. Jinx, I think, is going to be one of the number one beneficiaries now. I don't think she's going to go for these types of items. It is possible that she goes for Rapid Fire over Hurricane. Hurricane is very, very strong with her rockets. However, Rapid Fire is so strong anyways, and she gets a lot of range with rockets plus Rapid Fire cannon, that maybe she still goes for Rapid Fire. So we'll see. I mean, this is a huge buff. So if you can pick up one of these items, if she can go Rapid Fire early, maybe like Rapid Fire second item and then third item go to Hurricane, that might be better. I mean, Hurricane is better at wave clear, and it's better in team fights. So if you have organized, like clean 5v5s, you know, Hurricane's going to be a lot better. However, you know, Rapid Fire is so strong that right now with Kerchai's Shard and the buff to Zeal items, that I think maybe you want to get this. So she might be a person who goes BF Sword, Rapid Fire into Infinity Edge, and then after that goes Hurricane. We'll see. But I think she is going to be really good because she has really good push early to get priority. She has really good follow-up CC, so she can use the Chompers if your support does land some kind of CC on them. Chompers are great. She has good poke with Zap, so if you get them under tower and they don't have minions in front of you, it's just like shooting fish in a barrel with that Zap. That's really nice. And then she can pick people off, obviously, with her rocket, her ultimate, and get some clean kills to start snowballing. So I still think she's going to be pretty good. So I'm going to venture to guess that Rapid Fire might become her second item, and then she might go for the Hurricane next. It's possible she might like Storm Razor in there. I think Infinity Edge, you want Infinity Edge with her, but we'll see. So yeah, I think Jinx is going to be up there because she has that push, and she's the highest scaling ADC, I think, in the game. She's very close. If she's not like literally the highest, then she's one of the highest. If she's left alone just to free fire in fights, she'll completely obliterate everybody. So when you have that extra peel from the Janna, you know, as your support, from the Maokai, you know, in the top lane, or the Sejuani in the jungle, or whatever, she's going to be really, really strong. So I think she's going to be in a fantastic position. She already had a pretty high win rate, one of the highest win rates before this patch even hits, and that's going up against, you know, Nautilus, Leona, Thresh, all those champions, constantly trying to all in and engage her, and assassins just running around everywhere. In that meta, she was still, you know, I think one of the top 5 win rate ADCs. So now that you're going to be seeing more tanks, you're going to be seeing potentially less assassins. Although, I don't know, it's solo queue, you'll still see assassins probably. But the Nautiluses and the Leonas are definitely going to be a lot weaker. So that's going to open up a lot of space for her to really perform well. So I expect Jinx to do very well in this patch. Number 2, I'm actually going to say Senna. You know, I've kind of come around to the fact that Senna is really strong. I thought it was going to take people a lot longer to get on board with her, but she is one of the highest win rate ADCs right now. I mean, she's sitting at like 54% bot lane ADC right now, and you know, she's sitting at support 53%. So I still think she's going to be very, very strong right now. I think the thing that I was really underestimating when I was, you know, kind of commenting on Senna is that her range is insane. Like, obviously her auto attack range is good, but I'm talking about the range on her Q. Like, that 1300 range, because you can fire it off of enemy minions and ally minions, towers, you know, allied champions, all that stuff. You can almost always find a way to get maximum range out of this. And just people just can't hang with that. Like, it just does so much poke. It also has really good wave clear. It does not do diminished returns against minion waves. And she scales really hard with bonus AD, even better than she does with AP, way better than she does with AP. So being able to get some bonus AD items is going to be helpful. Now, it was a little awkward with her that critical strikes do reduce damage effectively. So that makes like crit builds kind of awkward on her. You can go the lethality items, but that's kind of like for early and mid game. But I think that she's a perfect home for the Kerchise build. So I think going something like Rapid Fire Cannon into Storm Razor into something like Static Shiv would just be amazing on her, because she has such long range to continually proc that for the 360 burst damage that she can do. If you get all of the Energizer items together, then you can get Infinity Edge as your final item. So I think that could potentially be an extremely good build on her. The Kerchise shard early, this Piercing Darkness does apply on hit effect, so it will apply Kerchise. Now, if you fire it through a minion wave, I don't know what happens offhand, if it prioritizes champions or what. I assume it doesn't do the Kerchise damage to every single thing that gets hit. So I know that with Athene's Unholy Grail, I'm pretty sure that if you hit both an ally and an enemy with your Q, then it does the damage to the enemy first, the enemy champion first, and then it heals the ally. So maybe if you do the Kerchise shard, then it prioritizes enemy champions that get hit with it. I'm not 100%. I mean, it's going to be super OP if it applies Kerchise to every single person that gets hit. So I'm not sure, once again, if that is how that works. But anyways, she has really good push, really good poke, excellent range. Her W is really good CC. It stops people from diving onto you. You have all the utility of your E, get the bonus movement speed. You become untargetable. It makes it really hard for things like Vi to get on you. And it's a slew of other champions that need to be able to point-click target you. Then you have Dawning Shadow, which gives you some cross-map presence. Pretty good burst damage for all ends. I mean, it's 100% of your bonus AD in addition to shielding you and your allies for a huge amount, and a 100% bonus AD ratio. It's just really, really good. So I think that she's great. The itemization is still a little wonky on her, but I think the Kerchise shard changes are going to help her out a lot. And she's just so oppressive in the laning phase. It's just so hard to deal with her. She has such huge range, wave clear. She heals herself and her allies off of trades. She's just very scary. So I think that just going Airy, Mana Flow, Absolute Focus, Gathering Storm, then Bloodline and Coup de Grace, and then Ionian Boots, Rapid Fire, Storm Razor, Static Shiv, Infinity Edge. Now, she's not going to do as much like damage to tanks in the late game as far as like just raw, just gunning them down, but her poke damage is still going to be tremendous. And, you know, you can have your allies help you out with the tanks. I mean, you can eventually take the tanks down, and you have really good CC. Like, you can kite, you get bonus movement speed every time you auto-attack. So that can help you kite them out. Then you have, like, your W to help you out with the tanks as well. And then you have kind of the plus healing and shielding. So I think there are a lot of options to help you deal with tanks. So she's not going to shred through them as fast as Jinx, but with that early game pressure that she can put up, I think she's going to get really far ahead. So I highly suspect that Senna's going to be quite strong these days. Jhin, I think, is going to be making a comeback as well. I think he had a decent win rate overall. Let me pull this back here to ADCs. I think Jhin had a pretty decent win rate overall. He's not that far down. Yeah, he's at like 53%. And he's the type of champion that loves Rapid Fire Cannon because he gets that crit as his fourth shot, and then you trigger the Rapid Fire, and you can fire it from like a million miles away. Do that extra, like the total 120 on-hit damage. You get the extra movement speed to run them down after you hit them. It sets you up to land your W and just combo them with like your grenades and additional auto attacks or your trap. So he really, really likes Rapid Fire Cannon, and that's great. Also, a thing they changed I forgot to mention about Kerchise is it applies to towers now. So you can get that long-range damage with Rapid Fire and Static Shiv, and just anything else that does these on-hit damage will do extra damage to towers. So that's fantastic. I'm not sure if he's going to want Storm Razor or not. I mean, he could go Rapid Fire into Storm Razor. Infinity Edge is obviously going to be really good on him. So he might still go Infinity, but I could definitely see him going like BF Sword, Rapid Fire Cannon, then Infinity Edge. Then after that, maybe he goes Storm Razor after that instead of Static Shiv. Maybe that's a build, you know, and that could work with Caitlyn and some of these other champs as well. Jinx is still going to want Hurricane. Senna, you know, maybe Senna mixes in an Essence Reaver in there somewhere or something. Maybe, but like maybe the build becomes, you know, BF Sword, Rapid Fire Cannon, Infinity Edge, and then Storm Razor. Because Storm Razor is going to be another item that has like pretty respectable AD at 55, the critical strike, and it has the Energizer bonus to it. So, you know, having another item that has heavy AD and heavy crit is going to be really good for champions like Jhin, or Senna, who don't necessarily want too much attack speed because they don't scale super well with it. So before it was like you kind of had to go Essence Reaver, but now maybe you don't. So he's going to have a lot more options. Having that slow is going to be really nice off of the Storm Razor, though. So maybe, you know, with the, like I said, the Rapid Fire, Infinity Edge, and then Storm Razor, you hit them from a million miles away, just burst the crap out of them. They're super slow, you're super fast. Then you just run them down and kill them. So, I think that he is definitely in a position to be really good. Now, as far as fleet goes, I don't know. The thing is, they took off the extra 25% charge rate on Energizer things. They took that off of Rapid Fire Cannon. So that's kind of a feels bad for fleet. So I'm not sure if you're going to go fleet anymore. He would like some healing, so Triumph and Bloodline is good because it is going to be a very attrition type of meta with lots of poke coming out from enemy ADCs and supports. So maybe you go for that. I mean, maybe Dark Harvest comes back into play because you can do so much upfront burst with the Energizer stacking now. Maybe that's the case, because if you get a crit shot, you know, you're getting that guaranteed crit with Infinity Edge, and you get the Kerchise, you know, for like 240 or 360 bonus damage at like that super range from Rapid Fire Cannon. I mean, he could almost literally one-shot people, especially if he has Dark Harvest. So, you know, we'll have to see how it goes, but if he's not going to go fleet for that sustain early on, then maybe he does go back to Dark Harvest. Those would be the two I would think about. But yeah, maybe it just is fleet just for the movement speed and the healing in lane. Then Boots of Swiftness. I think it's Rapid Fire Cannon. Infinity Edge. Storm Razor. That's what and I think you take Essence Reaver out probably for Storm Razor. Just the Energizer, the burst damage. It does have a little bit less AD on it. I don't know. Essence is okay, but I just feel like the slow and the extra 120 burst damage is probably going to be worth it. Okay. Caitlyn is going to be, like, the thing about Caitlyn is I think in the right hands and, like, pro or challenger level players, then she's going to be super good. But the problem is a lot of people just don't combo her stuff correctly. But she's so good with, like, the Energizer stuff. If you guys remember Caitlyn from 2007, she was, like, the pick ban, like, most OP champ for a long time, for, like, half the season. And they have rebuffed her. Now, yes, her headshot does not stack with, you can't stack it with Hurricane like you used to. That was the big nerf. They kind of brought her down a peg. But, you know, they've increased a lot of damage on her. You know, they've given her back a lot of power on her Q. Her traps do more damage. Her ult has more range and does more damage. So I can see Caitlyn being very, very oppressive with this. You know, you got your Rapid Fire especially. Same deal. It might be BF Sword and a Rapid Fire Cannon. And then, you know, maybe Infinity Edge Storm Razor. And then Static Shiv after that. And you're talking like a crit headshot from her with the 360 damage off of all of the Energizer stuff. I mean, it's just going to delete people late game. And the Kerchise Shard is really good on her. Like, those types of items are really good because her headshot mechanic does trigger the on-hit stuff. So if they step on one of your traps at really long range and she does that headshot, the headshot can crit and it does the on-hit damage. So she's very, very strong. And obviously she's one of the best in the game at kind of push and poke under towers. She can put those traps down, makes it very annoying to move around the towers. And she just completely locks down lanes and pushes hard. And that's really what you want right now in this meta. Like, it's going to be very, very difficult to contain Caitlyn, I think. So, watch out. I think she's already been moving up a little bit, and I think that she's going to become, you know, one of the premier AD carries, even though most people are kind of bad on managing her traps and her nets and stuff like that. She's still going to be very, very strong now. She does kind of fall off later on in the game, but with the extra scaling you can get from Ardent Sensor supports coming back in, and like the extra power of all of these Energizer items because they stack again, you know, I think she's going to be a beast on this patch. She might be the number 180 carry, but I just think that Jinx is a lot easier to use, and Senna, you know, has more utility, but she definitely deserves to be tier 1. And then Sivir is going to come back in a little bit as well. Now, Sivir's been kind of out of the meta, but Sivir's always good in tank metas because you can just press that ult, boom, and then you just run all of the meatballs in there. You run the Maokai, you know, the Garen, the Mundo, Sejuani. You just bring the whole squad with you, and that makes her really strong. Also, coming back into the team fight metas are very good for her. She has a lot of AoE damage between the bounces on her Ricochet and her Q. She puts out a lot of burst damage. Usually if she has Static Shiv, that's extra sort of AoE damage. So she's really good. Now, they did nerf her wave clear. I think they increased the mana cost on her W, which hurts her quite a bit. But I think she can rush something like a Static Shiv early on, like maybe Static Shiv into Essence Reaver. And that's just going to give her just like insane wave clear. Like she's just going to completely delete the minion wave once she gets that. And then after that, she can go Infinity Edge. So she might end up going... I forgot to change the items on Caitlyn. Let me change Caitlyn's items here. So we're going to go... Rapid Fire... Infinity Stormrazor. You might do Stormrazor after Rapid Fire. I'm not sure. It's similar value to Infinity Edge. I mean, this would basically give you higher up poke, so it might just be Rapid Fire Stormrazor, but we'll see after that. And then the Sivir, I really think that you want to go for the Shiv just to start that push going. So I think just going something like Shiv into Essence Reaver Infinity Edge could be really good on her. Maybe you get Rapid Fire at some point too, but I would just highly prioritize just getting those big AoE crits and getting that wave clear. So, you know, she's just very good in long fights where everyone's going to be grouped up. Those ricochets are bouncing around everywhere. She scales really hard with crit. Has super good wave clear early on. Has some protection in her spell shield from a bunch of different all-ins. Has the extra utility of being able to push a side lane. She's one of the only ADCs that can safely push a side lane and escape with her ult a lot of times. So that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for her. So I highly expect that Sivir is going to start coming back into the meta in a pretty big way. I think she has a good matchup into Caitlyn too, because you can spell shield her traps and give yourself more mana so you can push harder. So it's hard for Caitlyn to even put down traps when she's against Sivir. So good matchup against Caitlyn. I think she'll be very strong overall. Okay, then we're going down to tier 2. I think that Xayah has been nerfed several times, but I think she still could be good. It's harder for people in solo queue to play her. I still think she's good at like kind of a pro level or really high level of play. Where is she on there? Yeah, so she's just kind of okay. She's all right. It's a lot harder to play her, and I just don't think she fits as well with the Energizer builds. I mean, you can get Rapid Fire early. Like, she'll probably go, like, you know, Rapid Fire into Infinity Edge, Essence Reaver, something like that, maybe. I think you're going to get the Zeal items first. But once again, it might be BF Sword into Zeal item into finish, like it used to be back in the day. I don't know, but I just know if I was an ADC, I would be wanting to get a Kerchai Shard and a Zeal, like, ASAP, because both of those items are just, like, very, very strong now. Especially Kerchai Shard's ridiculous. So, I don't know. Like, she can get that stuff, but I don't think it's as good as it used to be. She does have good wave clear, though, with her feathers. She does have pretty good protection. She does have good AoE team fighting. So, I think that she is going to be strong. You could definitely make a case for her in rank 1. Or in tier 1 if you want to. But I feel like the execution's a bit harder. She has been nerfed a lot. She doesn't have as much synergy with the on hits. But she'll still be pretty good. Crit's still very good with her E. So, she'll be alright. Ashe is someone that I expect is going to fall quite a bit right now. And a lot of that is because, you know, she has okay wave clear. Like, her W's pretty good. They did increase the mana cost on it quite a bit. But her itemization is not that great. You know, a lot of people are still going Blade the Ruined King Hurricane, which is all right. But the problem is, you know, in, like, later on, off of first item, you're just going to be way weaker if you're not going up against a tank. You know, if they're getting something like Infinity Edge and you're getting Blade the Ruined King, they're going to be much better at sort of that one-on-one fighting. And then your CC is really nice, but you're not going to have, like, the Nautilus and the Leona follow-up is not going to be as strong. And a lot of the enchanters are just going to be able to heal through a lot of your really early arrows. And they could even get a Mikhail's to help cleanse people of that, which would be catastrophic, you know, for Ashe. So she just doesn't have a lot of synergy with those what I think are going to be the OP items. Her push is not as great. She doesn't have... I mean, she can get sustained with Blade the Ruined King. Like, she's pretty good in tank metas overall. She doesn't shred them as fast as other people, but she does have really nice engage. So, we'll see. I think she's probably going to lose a percentage or two here. So, she will still be pretty good, but I think she's going to ultimately get pushed in and bullied out by some of these other champs early on that can heal through her poke, and that she's going to take poke herself. So... we'll see. But I think she's going to fall out of favor just a little bit. Draven is another one. You know, Draven could be tier 1 very easily. If you're very good on Draven, he could work. You know, maybe he gets a rapid fire first, then Infinity Edge, and then Storm Razor after that. Maybe that's the build on Draven. That's really good. He does still like Bloodthirster though as well, so I don't know. But if you have, you know, if you have an Enchanter on your team, if you have a Soraka, do you really need a Bloodthirster on Draven? You know, that's another question. But maybe with a new build with Rapid Fire Cannon plus Infinity Edge Storm Razor, if you can get enough, like maybe you could go Bloodline or something. Go like maybe press the attack and then get Bloodline, Triumph. And then if you really wanted more sustain, you could get like Biscuits early, or you could even go for like Taste of Blood or something like that. But I think that I think he'll still be good if you can pressure early. Now his wave clear is not that great. You know, he can auto attack minions down. He does bonus damage with his autos, but he doesn't have like any kind of AoE, and that's what makes him a bit weaker in team fights too. If he's not super fed, is that he doesn't do AoE damage, and a lot of the top end ADCs are gonna do AoE damage. So the fact that he lacks wave clear, he lacks AoE damage, he doesn't have a great escape, is definitely a few strikes against him. But he does do very heavy single target damage. He can burst people so fast that the enchanters just may not even be able to shield him fast enough if he gets ahead. So he's okay. I just don't think he works as well with the enchanters also. Like he's all right, but if you got a Soraka on your team or a Sona or a Nami or something like that, it's all right, but it's not as good as like having a Leona or a Nautilus to secure those early kills. So I think he'll still be good, but I think tier 2 is probably a pretty fair assessment. I mean, he might be lower tier 1 if he goes up. If you're a really good Draven player, he could definitely be tier 1, but I think that his lack of wave clear in a meta that I think is going to be heavily defined by push and poke, wave clear, put him in tower, go get those dragons. He's not going to be as strong. Okay, Twitch is another one, and Twitch is kind of a specialty case where he doesn't use a lot of those like super powerful early items either, so I don't know about that. I mean, maybe he could early on get a static shiv to help him out with the wave clear, but in a meta where you get a lot of time to farm off, where people are just farming with each other, he can be pretty good later on in the game, in team fights especially, so you might see Twitch just like rush straight for that, Infinity Edge, Hurricane, Static Shiv, or something like that type of build. So I don't know. Maybe it's a little generous to put Twitch up that far. Maybe he should be down a little bit more. But I think if there's going to be a farm off, if people are just sitting there with enchanters trying to push and farm, at some point that does bode pretty well for Twitch, especially if there's less all-in, like the Leona, the Nautiluses, things like that. I mean, he still has a high win rate, even in a meta that's completely dominated by Nautilus and Leona. And he's one of the most vulnerable AD carries of that type of thing. So we'll see. But if you have really good peel for him in a team fight, he's one of the gods of team fights, right up there, with Jinx. It's just the amount of damage he puts out if no one shuts him up is just insane. So I think that he, definitely deserves a spot somewhere on the tier list. I think lower tier 2 is probably okay. Lucian is another one that I don't think he's going to use these items, like the new items. I don't know. But he does do a lot of early game burst damage. He does have okay wave clear, with his Q and his auto attack. So he's all right. I mean, it's totally possible he could go down a little bit lower into tier 3. But I just have him here because he does have good early game pressure. He can snowball really hard early. It's hard to fight him. If he gets up an item, then he can take over in kind of these early mid-game team fights around Dragon. So I think that he has the potential to be really strong there. But he can get outranged and outbullied and pushed in a tower by a lot of the tier 1 and the upper tier 2 support or AD carries. So, stay tuned for that. He's okay. Maybe the Blade of the Ruined King. It's just I think Black Cleaver is just too slow and too weak. People have been going things like Essence Reaver Rush on him. So maybe if you go Essence Reaver Rush plus Rapid Fire Cannon or something like that, because the extra range is nice. If he dashes, he's going to get both of those shots at the long range, so that can definitely do some pretty good poke to people with your double shots, and those things can crit and scale pretty well with crit. So I mean, it's possible that he could go something like Essence Reaver into Rapid Fire into Infinity Edge and still just do a ton of burst damage. So we'll see. I'm not as certain about him as some of these other ones, but he could fit in as an early game bully. Okay, Misfortune. She can still be good. What's had her rise to prominence a lot lately is the Klepto build with crit, but Klepto's being removed from the game, so it's kind of a question mark there what she's going to do about that. She can still try to go like Dark Harvest and Lethality. The problem is Lethality's not as good against tanks later on in the game, and it does fall off pretty hard after the first couple of items. So if you can punish the ADC and the support and get a couple of kills, you know, you can make her work. But the problem is if everybody's got enchanters, you just may not have enough burst to get through their healing and shielding, and your own support may not do enough damage to help you do that burst as well if no one's playing, or if fewer and fewer people are playing the Leona and the Nautilus. So we'll see how she goes. I mean, maybe she could still go crit. The problem is, like, Xayah Shard is not as strong because I'm pretty sure that can hit, like, minions. And so the double up doesn't really synergize that well with it because it's just going to hit the minion before it bounces. So I hesitate. And her wave clear is not that great early on either. Like, she does have really good team fights. So if you have, like, a Jarvan or a Senna or something on your team, something that has, like, AoE, like, lockdown, then maybe she can still be pretty good. She has a nice bully early on, so we'll see. But I just don't know. Maybe she's still good enough with the crit build, even without Klepto. But I think Klepto was a really big part of that because you could Q, it would bounce off the minion wave and hit an enemy, ideally, and then you would get the extra sacks of gold, so it was really easy to farm that Klepto off of her. So we'll see. Now, I do want to do one PSA as well. I saw that one of the more popular builds on Senna that people were getting all the time is Manamune. Please, for the love of God, do not rush this item on Senna. It is so slow. Yes, the on-hit later is nice, but you don't even have Ginsus to synergize with it. It seems to me like it's just god-awful. I mean, maybe in, like, Challenger level play or something like that, but please, please, please do not get Manamune on her. If you have to have something that gives you mana, get Essence Reaver at least, because it's going to have a lot more, it's just going to be online faster. It builds out of a BF sword. Just get away from Tear. Just repeat after me. I will not buy Tear of the Goddess. Okay, that'll help you out a lot in solo queue. That's just in general, not just for her, but if you're playing ADC, do not buy Tear of the Goddess. On Ezreal, I guess you can, but Ezreal's kind of in the dumpster. So, anyways, Kai'Sa, I think Kai'Sa is going to get, like, just crushed on this patch, because a lot of people are still going to be doing tier on Kai'Sa, and it's just too slow. I think the meta is going to speed up for bot lane even more because of this push and poke. I think she's just going to get blown out by any of these top lane champs. Xayah Shard is just going to eat her for breakfast. It's just going to destroy her, I think. It's, you know, her wave clear, you know, her Q can wave clear a little bit, but, like, her range is very suspicious early on. A lot of these champs are going to have really long range, like rapid fire cannon especially on most of these champs in the early game. I think she's going to get blown out. Like, yeah, she can probably be pretty good later on in the game, but there's just not going to be a later on in the game in this meta, I don't think. It's going to be really fast. People are going to take the bot lane tower quickly. They're going to take dragons, and they're going to, you know, snowball and go to other lanes, because a lot of these have that really long range. So when they take, you know, bot lane tower, they're going to go to mid lane and take that tower. So I think she's going to have a really, really hard time. She's already has a very low win rate. It's one of the lowest of any AD carry. You know, everyone thinks she's still really good and really OP. I mean, you see she's the most picked champion right now with a 48% win rate. So that's pretty rough. And then Ezreal, just do not play Ezreal. I need to put Tristana up there because I think Tristana maybe could work. She does have the push. She just doesn't have the poke early. She does have good all-ins. Eventually, she gets good range. I'm just worried that she might be slow. But with Trist, maybe you could go for, like, Static Shiv, and that would help double down on your push. So you just keep pushing them into the tower, and just, like, instead of poking the enemy, you just poke the tower with your bomb. Maybe that's what you can do with Trist. I mean, hell, maybe Trist comes back. We'll see. I just feel like her range is really short early on, and she could get abused by other people. But if you get Static, and you just constantly put them under tower with your explosive shot and Static Shiv, maybe they just don't even have a chance to poke you, and you get to scale up. So, I don't know. Maybe Trist deserves to be tier 2 over Lucian. I'm not going to change it now, but that's totally a possibility. Okay. So back to Ezreal here, you know, with the removal of Klepto, I think he's just going to be dumpster. Like, he's going to be really bad. I just don't know what you're going to get on him, honestly. I don't know. It's hard for me to even speculate. You know, it's probably going to be like Conquer, trying to charge up. Maybe he goes for a Xayah item. You know, his Q would trigger on hit stuff. It doesn't crit, but maybe like Static Shiv or something to give him some wave clear early. So maybe you would go for... No, because you need, like, Trinity Force 2. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough out there for Ezreal. Again, you have to have tier. I think you have to have tier. Maybe he just gets rid of tier and just tries to go for, like, has to become like a burst champion early. I don't know. Maybe it's tier into Static Shiv into Trinity Force just so you have wave clear, so maybe you don't get pushed in. I don't know. It's going to be really bad. I mean, I would not be surprised if Ezreal goes down to like 44% or lower this patch. I mean, maybe someone figures out a new build. Hell, maybe you just build him AP and just go for burst now. Maybe you're just, at this point, you're just rushing Gunblade and just trying to burst people out. Maybe you go like, maybe he just goes like full like Storm Razor build or something like that and just tries to go for, you know, burst. I don't know. He's going to be in big trouble. And then Yasuo, if you're really good with Yasuo, it could be a great time for Yasuo in the bot lane because he can rush Static Shiv. Yes, he is going to get poked down. It is going to be tough early on, but if you have the sustain, you can get to the 100% crit really early. All you have to do is buy 2 crit cloaks and you're at 100%. So, you know, being able to get something like Static Shiv early. Now, Static Shiv can't crit anymore, but if you could get that early for the wave clear and then crit cloak and build your way to Infinity Edge, I mean, maybe he can burst out and kill some of these other champs. I'm still going to have him at tier 3, though, just because I think he is going to get pushed in and blown up early game. It's just, can he recover? And there's going to be, like, more tanks coming around, so he's going to get CC locked in fights. I don't know. But I think that maybe he could sneak in there. Anyways, that's going to be it. Other, like, honorable mentions, I guess. Vayne might make a comeback, potentially. I don't know what. I just feel like Blatherin King is just going to not be where you want to be, and she doesn't have any wave clear. I think she's going to be spending the whole time under tower, getting poked out, getting blown up. So she is very good against tanks, though. So maybe in some select spots she could be okay. Maybe she has to go back to rushing, like an energize, like a Static Shiv, just so she can wave clear. Like maybe she goes back to crit, like Static Shiv into Infinity Edge. The problem is the bonus damage on her Q doesn't crit anymore, so I don't know if that build works, but that's kind of a problem with her. Varus, I mean, he does have the CC, which is nice, but he doesn't do particularly well with Energizer items, I don't believe. He really wants to go the on-hit stuff. I mean, maybe you could go for, like, lethality, poke, wave clear with some of the lethality item changes. It's possible, but I don't think that's probable. Kallista's going to be awful. I think because she just needs early game pressure, and she's just not going to have it. She doesn't have the wave clear. I mean, maybe once she gets Hurricane, or, you know, maybe she could go Static Shiv or something to get the wave clear, but I think she's still going to be really bad. Kog'Maw is possible against tanks. You know, he could be potentially good. It's just the Blatherin King Gensu's, I think, is just too slow compared to some of these other builds. But if you can get him to like 2 or 3 items without getting completely decimated in lane, he can work. I know Syndra's been popular overseas. I think ADCs are going to be a lot stronger on this patch. So I don't think we'll see Syndra a ton in the bot lane. And then Corki's still going to be in the penalty box. I think his numbers are just really bad. He needs some buffs. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. I got to go. I was aiming for 30 minutes. We're at 45. But it's still going to be a pretty quick video. Be sure to check out the rest of the content that I'm offering on the channel. So we're going to have the support tier list should be out by the time this comes out. I've already done the patch notes video. And I'm going to do a video for every single role. And then I've got some in-depth guides coming up too that people have commissioned. I know I've got a Pike guide, a Misfortune guide, and I'll have to look through the archives. I've got a couple more that I'm going to be releasing, and I'll do an in-depth Senna guide as well. I did one a few weeks ago that was based on sort of inaccurate information that was on the PvE, so I'll do an updated one now at the meta. People are figuring her out a little bit more. I can give you the breakdown on that a little bit better. And I'll just have more content coming too. I'm going to coming soon. I'm going to crank out as much as I can, so stay tuned, check it all out, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.